Welcome to the Cocktail Guru Podcast,
a show about food, drink, and entertainment,
with a tight focus on the good life,
and all things delicious, luxurious, and fun.
I'm Jonathan Pogash, bartender, author, and the host of Cocktails the Grand Tour.
And I'm Jeffrey Pogash, wine and spirits professional, author, insatiable collector of culinary ephemera, and so people tell me, an engaging raconteur.
And my dad.
Yet another episode of the Cocktail Guru Podcast coming at you. Hi, Dad.
Hi, John. Here we go again.
Here we go. Dad, how was...
Yes, John.
How was your weekend?
Oh, weekend was great.
Okay.
Was great. But it's even better now because I've got something really special in my glass. I love apricot, as you know. And I have Marie Brizard apricot.
You can't get enough of it. Like you literally cannot get enough of apricot.
I love it. I just love apricot. So I've made something special with this Marie Brizard apricot. I added some of Gary Regan's orange bitters.
R.I.P.
That's in honor of Gary.
Yeah.
And I've added some tiki bitters to this. I put some ice in the glass as well. Mm-hmm. And then I added some lemon-scented sparkling water.
Oh, wow.
And it is absolutely delicious.
You really look like you are enjoying yourself over there. I have my apri in my glass, and then I'm going to, hold on, can you all hear this?
Well,
yeah, you probably heard that. So I'm opening like good tonic water, and I'm not using ice actually because it's chilly outside. So this is going to be more like a room temperature spritz, or as you were calling it earlier, Dad. What did you call this?
A spritz.
Yes, you said spritz. And I said, this is not, we're not doing a Yiddish show here. So get that Yiddish. It smells great. It's delicious. We could talk more about this, and we'll keep sipping it. But
yes, this the way I've done it, it comes out beautifully balanced and very refreshing. It's delicious.
I'd like to now bring on our guest. So it is a true honor to be speaking with today's guest, Mr. Jason Kosmas. Our podcast includes topics on cocktails and, of course, wine and food, spirits, restaurants, all the best things that life has to offer. And we want to welcome Jay, who can speak knowledgeably about each and every one of those categories. Jay, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So, hold on, Dad. I know you're like chomping at the bit here.
I'm very excited. I'm sorry. Jason excites me. This is a great guest to have.
We do begin each episode by asking our guests' favorite beverages, but like you're stranded on a desert island, favorite beverage. So what is that for you, my friend?
Oh my gosh, that's a really hard one. Desert island. Is this a hot desert island or a cold desert island?
Well, let's make it a hot desert island.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the. I think it's just going to be champagne. It's like you can't really have a bad time when you have champagne.
I think we've had multiple people on the show say champagne, which is interesting. And is that yours, Dad? Actually, that might be yours. Is it?
Well, it's hard for me to choose, but it is definitely one of my two desert island drinks. I just love champagne. It happens to be my single favorite category of wine. Period.
It's fun. It's actually really funny. Having the reputation of being, in the cocktail world and spirits, when it comes to like those holiday times, and the distributors or whoever give you a nice little thank you gift or something like that. The question is like, oh, what's your favorite spirit? And I just look them dead in the eye and I say champagne.
Very good.
And sure enough, I always get tequila.
So, well, all of you distributors out there, if you want to get to Jay's heart, you know what to give him. You know what to give him. But really, you and my dad actually go back quite a few years. I think before you and I met, that's for sure. And it was back when Dad was working over at Shefflin in Somerset, I think, right?
Yes, we go back to, if my memory serves me well, around 2004. I started working there in 1993, but in 2004, Jason and Dushan were in our offices working with us, working with me in particular and a few other people, on behalf of 10 Cane Rum.
Yeah.
And remember that?
I do. I remember it was like we had, I think at that time there was just a bottle and a name. And,
Yes.
and there was, we were trying different juice, and there was different conversations about how are we going to get this out to market. And, in a lot of ways that was an inspiration for, for Duchamp and I to kind of go off and do the 86 company eventually.
Yeah. And at the same time, you were opening employees only.
Correct. We weren't busy enough, so we needed, more work.
Wow. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that was like double duty for you guys. You were, so what was kind of that early, idea of employees only specifically? What was the grain, the nugget that the kernel, if you will, that popped into your brains?
It was, having been trained by, Dale DeGroff when I was really young. I just got bit by that, infectious, passion that he has for, like cocktails, but learning more. And, I kept on doing that. And at that time, places were martini bars or Cosmo bars. And so, Duchamp and I fell in love with the classics, and I said, I could do this for a long time. And so we decided that we were going to open up a very small, humble bar where we would be the only employees. And it was him, myself, Igor, and Henry, 4 of the 5 founding members. And, that was the idea. We were going to have maybe, a couple hundred square feet, and just have build up a regular clientele and service the restaurant industry after hours.
And in your book called Speakeasy, just happen to have a copy here, you talk about classic cocktails reimagined. I think that seemed to be the philosophy behind employees only.
For sure. It probably still is what's underneath my skin a little bit in terms of like how I approach things. I like to say that we took a culinary approach to classic mixology. So, we spent so much time in like Dean and DeLuca, for example. We would just try to like take these classic cocktails, and of course there was things like grenadine we couldn't buy during this time, except for they were artificially flavored and high fructose corn syrup. So we started making our ingredients ourselves, and that took us like, well, if we're going to make grenadine, how about we try adding some clove and cardamom to it? And so just that was kind of our approach.
But I want to, I'd like to delve deeper into employees only specifically and the philosophy and everything. But I'd like to go back a bit further. And are you from New Jersey, New York? Where are you from?
Yeah, no, I grew up on the Jersey Shore. I went to Rutgers in my, for college. I went to art school. And
yay! Because I went to Rutgers Graduate School also.
Awesome. Yeah, so I was in Mason Gross, and
yes, Mason Gross. When I was applying for colleges for theater, I remember
theater.
Yes, the theater. I remember Mason Gross very well.
Yeah, it was amazing. But what was really amazing, I got hired at a place called the Old Bay, and they were doing Creole, Cajun, Louisiana, New Orleans food, and it was the bar program was actually pretty exciting. They were doing classics. I mean, we weren't talking about using grade ice or proper technique really as much. But what was there was there's a gentleman, Chris Dimitri, who rest in peace, was a huge inspiration. One of my first mentors behind the bar, and he was just finding all these microbrews. Like that's what we called craft beer microbrews back then. And he while everyone was finding like these small, little distilleries and things like that, he was actually doing the whole gambit. So he was like, I met Sir Anthony Fuller from Fuller's ESB, came over and did a whole lecture. And that was probably in like 1995. We had Celis White, which is now in the state of Texas where I live, one of the first craft beers coming out of here. So it was really amazing, and that's what turned me on to discovering things. So that turned me on to beer, and beer was my first step into a darker world.
And then,
go ahead, Dad.
Old Bay seems to have specialized in Creole cocktails.
They did.
What is that? What is that exactly?
Well, they did have a Sazerac. They had, oh God, I know hurricanes were a big one. Like we had the big lanterns with. There was like a two drink maximum on that one.
Yeah. Was it premixed like Pat O'Brien stuff or
no? And it actually was a better color even. It was
good because it needs to be.
It was the orange juice that did it, but it did have like 5 rums. Probably Rose's lime juice, grenadine, and then different juices. And it was not too bad. There was something called a swamp water, which I know had. I think Jack Daniels and Midori somehow.
Of course, needs to have Midori to be called the swamp water, I guess.
I think it was maybe the precursor to the grenadine. Grenade. What do they call it? Grenade. That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. And remind me at Rutgers, what is that area where all the food trucks were? And there was that like really gross one with the French fries and egg and burger or something, right?
Yeah, it was called the grease trucks.
That's right, the grease trucks.
Yeah. This is like good New Jersey thinking, right? It's like one of them had caught fire on the street next to a dorm. So what they decided to do was put them all in a parking lot together.
Yes, that's right.
and so you would go there, late at night. They'd be open until I have no idea. So after the bars closed, everybody would go there and have what can I think of the name of it?
Whatever. It's like a heart attack burger, basically.
It was basically a double patty sub sandwich with French fries and everything on it. Fat Cat, that was it.
Oh, that's right. Fat Cat.
Oh, wow. I'm jealous. We didn't have anything like that in my day at Rutgers.
No, Dad, you would have been.
This was well after my time.
You would have been all over it, Dad.
It was all this culinary innovation happened after you left.
Yeah, it did. The cuisine exploded after I left. Yes.
So Jay, after college, did you want to move to the big city to pursue art, or how did that come about?
I mean, I followed a girl. Classic story.
Oh,
yeah, and I think we were together for about a year afterwards. But my first job was at Tavern on the Green. It was horrible.
Oh, really? Yeah,
I worked at the outdoor bar. Which it was a weird place to work. It was a lot of people. They churned and turned people out pretty quick at that time.
Well, was that because I worked at the Russian Tea Room, which for a time was owned, but was that when the Leroy family took it over, or was that before?
It was when they owned it. Yes,
it was Leroy, right? And then it was Jennifer Leroy who owned it, and she also owned the Russian Tea Room for a while, right?
But at that time, it was Warner Leroy who was still running.
He was still running around in his fancy sports coats and causing trouble.
Yeah.
Quite a character that one was. Yeah, I didn't really know him, but because I think by the time I had worked at I had started the Russian Tea Room, I think it had been given to Jennifer.
I think he had passed.
Yes, he had passed.
That's
he had passed away.
Yeah, and I think that's when it turned hands. And so funny enough, I was trying to get out of there pretty badly, and I was calling my friend from college, who was my roommate. He was also a bartender, and he had set up a place in New Brunswick called Clyde's, which was this martini bar, and so I'd kind of helped him R&D the cocktails. And so I reached out to him and was like, I don't know where to look. And he's like, well, I got this book. And he started going through, and it was like Lennox Room. And, and one of the places he listed was Pravda. And he, said, yeah, it's 281 Lafayette. And I just wrote down all the addresses, and was like, yeah, I'll just go walk by. Opened up the New York Times after I got off the phone with him. I'm looking through, and all of a sudden I see like an open call, no restaurant or bar listed, and it says 281 Lafayette. And
so for those who don't know at home, there was a such thing as a newspaper that would list want ads and job openings. They used to
Yeah,
do that.
and not only that, but like the New York Times was an investment. I mean, Village Voice you could go pick up somewhere, but I had to pay for that, and I had no money.
Right.
And yeah, so that's I walked into Pravda, didn't even know what it was. I was the first person there. I saw some guy that kind of looked like he might be homeless, trying to push a hand cart through a small doorway with some cases, and I went over and I helped him out. And it turned out to be Peter McNally, Keith McNally's brother, who was the bar manager of Pravda, also an artist type himself. And yeah, after I don't know, there was probably about 150 people that were there, and everyone was leaving, and I was just sitting there, and I'm like, I'm really not that amazing. They actually hired me because I had no experience in New York.
Yeah,
they wanted somebody who wasn't jaded, and so that's how they selected me. And that was actually one of Dale DeGroff's first consulting gigs. So he set up the program there and trained the bartenders and set the tone for what one day I would inherit.
Wow. And that's where you met Dushan?
Yeah, actually, I did. First, I met Igor.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Dushan came on, and he was hired. They had kind of cleared house. Everybody except for me and Igor was let go, and the two of us were working for like 2 weeks straight while we had to bring somebody in and train. And and then all of a sudden in walks Dushan, and it was he was very sure of what he was doing at that time, and so even back then, but we found this kinship, him and I, pretty quickly. It was almost like we complemented each other. Very different personality types. Very we wanted to do the same things, just had different ways of approaching it. So one day he one day he came up to me and he said, "Hey, Poppy, I'm working on this cocktail book. I was wondering if you want to write it with me." And little did he know that for the last 4 months I had been writing away on a computer and putting together all these ideas for trying to articulate all this knowledge that I had been acquiring, and sort of looking at old cocktail books and wanted a way to vocalize it. So I just looked at him and I was like, I already started it. And that was kind of it. And that led to us even consulting eventually one day and working for the liquor brands.
So you guys kind of got together and started consulting with, and it's a similar story to me. That was kind of that was a side hustle for me, was consulting for the liquor brands while I was bartending full time. And it was mainly because the liquor brand people were coming into my bar and they were telling me to play around with these products of theirs. And I was like, well, maybe I should start getting paid for creating these new recipes that they're asking me to create.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I think, for us, it was, I think the weird thing was that we first were working for hotels. We were getting hired to do trainings, right? So it kind of fit in line with what we were doing with the book, the writing and the teachings and all that.
Places in DC, right? I was just talking to someone and they said, oh yeah, we had a training program with Dushan and Jay, I think.
Yeah,
right?
if you know Joe Pereira from
that's exactly who I was talking to a couple of days ago, and we were trying to figure out his timeline of all of the places he worked.
Yeah, it was the W or the Washington Hotel.
Yeah.
And it was a John George Jane G Steakhouse, I believe.
Right.
That we had set up. Yeah. It was pretty crazy. Yeah, and I think the one thing that had ended up happening too is that we also Dushan was actually not even, I wouldn't know if he was really hired or if he was just part of the opening team at Schiller's, and so he if you remember Schiller's Liquor Bar in the Lower East Side. Mm-hmm. He did all the cocktails and did all the training, and it coincides with really the formation of what our company was called Cocktail Conceptions, right? And so we actually made a name for it. We started making, I started like drawing business cards, and so we were like, yeah, we're gonna take the world on and do this thing. And so we got we had an answering machine. So this was really
yes, as one would.
And we took our landline for our apartment where we all lived together, and we had my Igor's girlfriend at the time record the message in a sultry voice, and it's like, "Hello, you've reached Cocktail Conceptions. Please leave your name and number after the beep." And so she creates this message, and then she hangs. We set it up, and then all of a sudden the phone rings, and we're like, "Let the machine get it." And so the phone's ringing. Finally, it picks up, and it's like, "You've reached Cocktail Conceptions," and then you hear like the beep, and it's like, "Hi, this is Bill Hamilton from the New York Times.
Whoa.
I was calling to talk to Duchamp about Schiller's, but I'm actually a little more interested in this Cocktail Conceptions thing." And
Wow,
so
and you guys were like, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
Oh no, we didn't get to it quick enough. He hung up, and we're just like, "What do we do?"
Oh my God.
So we called him back, and it was kind of like this dual article where it was about Schiller's and then about us.
Wow! So they wrote an article about you guys. I didn't even know that. What year was this?
It was probably in 2003 would be my guess.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I think we were getting phone calls from at that time. What was it? What was Absolute? And they were working on a few different things. And so they asked us to create a cocktail for a preview of what would become Level vodka. And we put that together, and we were at the top of it probably was Trump Tower, I think. and we were doing this party and making martinis. And they wrote us a check to Cocktail Conceptions. And then I turned to Duchamp. I was like, "Fuck, we don't have a bank account."
Oh God.
We don't even have a business. We just made up a name and made business cards.
That's hilarious.
Like children do,
Right.
So then we had we had to go to the bank, and we went to a bank in Greenpoint, and they were like, "Well," and we got incorporated. We did that properly.
Okay.
And then, but they're like, "We have to see where you work because we don't really believe you're doing what you are trying to tell us you're doing."
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody was doing that kind of thing back then.
Yeah, no one.
Yeah.
That's really funny. And go ahead, Dad.
No, I was just going to say, and then you all put your heads together and came up with employees only.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was a very, very natural thing,
Mm-hmm.
And I think we looked at a few different spaces somewhere in the Lower East Side. There was one that was, I think one that we looked at that it ended up becoming La Esquina. So we had this idea of being downstairs. I think probably the saddest thing that we had was there was one place that was across the street from a hospice and in the Lower East Side. And, that was kind of crazy.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting to be across from a hospice. Like, you go, family members go, and then that's it, and then they grab a drink.
Exactly. One for the road.
One for the road. In honor of the person who passed. So when you were figuring out locations, and then you found the location, and really employees only was and is one of the first, if not the first, in New York City to be like a speakeasy style cocktail bar. And there were others that were peripheral, but you wouldn't really categorize it as that. Like, I know in the past, Jay, you and I have talked about going out afterwards after bartending. One of the places I used to go to was APT down in Meatpacking.
Yeah. Oh God, APT.
I know, and that place was like, it blew my mind at the time because I was like, wait, you don't know, there's no sign. You actually have to press a doorbell like it's an apartment, and then you go up in the elevator and it's like an apartment.
Yeah, well, and you also I think you entered on a loading dock even.
Oh, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's, I knew a number of people. I mean, there's many mornings that I was still there after hours. That place was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think they had good cocktails. They had somewhat of a cocktail program, didn't they? Who knows?
I think that who knows, right? I think it was like whatever I could get, because it was after hours, right? So whatever they would serve me was kind of what I was drinking.
Yeah,
if I remember
exactly.
correctly. So it was
Yes.
either a beer or vodka usually.
Yeah, or shots or who knows.
Yeah.
And then employees only with that. How did the concept come about? And then we can't not
Sure.
talk about the training program and the training philosophy also.
Yeah. So the concept really, it started with, sort of like going back to another era was how we were looking at it. I think probably romantically, everyone in their head has in their minds that the prohibition was the height of the cocktail, the golden era of cocktails, when it was probably a pretty sad time for it.
Yeah.
But so we just decided to play it. We love the Art Deco style. We hadn't really seen that. I mean, Milk and Honey was for sure around by a couple of years at this point. And, but I mean, obviously he was a true speakeasy. It was very minimalist in terms of the original decor. And, so we were trying to capture sort of that cocktail era. And, one part of that was the uniform. And that came out of, there was a Bon Vivant's Companion, or How to Mix Drinks.
Yeah.
There was a 1929 version, I believe, which also had a history of the book and history of bars in the front of it. And that one, there's a picture, and it had Igor's mustache, perfectly.
Yeah.
But it had this kind of coat that was more like a chef's coat. And kind of buttoned up and white and pristine, and
Right.
so we went on the search to find that jacket or to make it, and we found a very obscure chef's jacket that was made by a local company, and worked with them to kind of like retool it a little bit, and and that's where the jacket itself comes from.
Yeah.
The other piece of it, meaning the training portion of it, just came out of kind of necessity. We had opened up with with two barbacks, with the promise that, we don't know when we can make you bartenders. We really, we have to work behind the bar to make a living. But as soon as we can, we are going to train you to do that. In that time, I think that there was definitely, keeping somebody as a barback and sort of cycling through people was pretty common, and we wanted to give people a clear path. But at that time there was a lot of ambiguity of what our success would be, and it was probably in the first 7 months when we were able to promote our first apprentice, as he kind of became, into a bartender, or a principal bartender. And then all of a sudden we had these other people that some of them were bartenders, and they wanted to work for us. And we said, well, we have a spot open now, but it could be like a year and a half before you ever get behind the bar. And, and we use that time to basically teach them how, sort of our style of service, and sort of how to, make things happen in the bar. One of my mentors, Henry Lafargue, who's my partner in Employees Only, he said, that everything is based on possibilities, right? So if you can dangle possibilities in front of people, that's what makes the magic in a bar.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then a few years after you opened Employees Only, you opened another bar, Macao Trading Company.
Macao Trading Company.
What brought that about?
Well, in some ways it was a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. My one partner, Billy Gilroy, had talked about how he was intrigued by Macanese cuisine, and I started looking at it, and it was like a fantastic East meets West. It's 500 years, and it was first Portuguese kind of like ran it as a colony, and then it was and then the English. It was just like this. It was like one place, I think, that the Japanese didn't touch during World War II, and there was that's where like the opium was coming out of, where guns were coming out of, and it was just this like really sort of debaucherous place, and we're like, oh, that would make a good sequel to Employees Only.
Yeah.
And then of course you would need a whole new set of exotic cocktails to go along with the food.
No, exactly. And that was a lot of fun to do too. But really we had this idea in our back pocket, but we were going to do a full-fledged restaurant, and it was going to be called Zeppelin. And, we were going to do table side. It was still going to be Art Deco, that 30s sort of style of service, early 30s, and, kind of over the top. And I remember the day it all fell apart. We had issues with the landlord and with the co-op. We couldn't get things approved, and eventually we had to pull out of it. And the second the rent sign went up, the for rent sign, Eater, which was really new at that time, had a big thing of the Hindenburg crashing.
Oh God!
Talking about how Zeppelin was dead. So it was kind of, I think we picked that name just for that moment.
That was cute. That was cute
Yeah.
of Eater to do that, right?
Oh, exactly. But yeah, it was and Macao just became something that we did. Like I said, we did it kind of quickly. We crossed paths with another sort of brother from another mother type guy, and next thing you know, we were like building this place out and giving it all this these touches, and it was a lot of fun.
And you guys did you also maintained a remarkable and delicious food program for both Employees Only and Macao. And I really I think often about the tuna tartare from Employees Only, and it's just something that I can rarely get out of my brain.
Yeah, no, and a table side too, right?
Yeah.
So we would make it for the guest. That was a lot of fun, but we really, our chef Julia was just, she really kind of took that little kitchen downstairs, a little electric kitchen, and elevated it, and just made some incredible food. I mean, like probably one of the best ribeyes you could get in the city, at a bar. Just fantastic.
And you helped found 86 Company, and you moved to Dallas.
Yeah, kind of all around the same time.
Yeah.
We were still working on it. I had kind of, started to leave New York and sort of tie up those ends, and we started to formulate with Simon Ford the 86 Company, and it took us probably, over probably 3.5 years to really to make it real, to have something physical to touch. But yeah, that was a wild ride as well.
And now, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing now? What's been happening?
Yeah, so I've been in Austin for the last 8 years. Kind of. I mean, I loved what I did on the supply side of things with 86 and all, but really my heart is in restaurants and hospitality. So I kind of fell into, it's just sort of timing, got introduced coincidentally by two different people to two very influential people in high hospitality. And that's the parent company of Uchi, which is kind of one of the first sort of culinary destinations in Austin, Texas. And then followed up by Laura, which is an Asian smokehouse. So a collaboration from the Uchi team and Aaron Franklin. Yeah, Aaron Franklin from Franklin Barbecue.
Yes. So, I love Franklin Barbecue.
It's really, it's like, it's all the personality, but it's just really like a lot of fun. So kind of almost not taking a step back, but like really losing all the pretense. And, we call it bar service. So you go and you order from the bartender, and we have big outdoor patio, lots of tables, large tables.
Love it.
So the food gets delivered to you.
Yeah. I mean, that's perfect during these times as well.
Oh, for sure. And we do a lot of fun stuff. We have batched cocktails. We have frozen drinks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, our frozen gin and tonic is probably the number one seller.
Dad, I'm booking our trip to Austin as we speak.
I'm ready now, John. Let's go.
You're ready.
Make room for us, Jason. We're coming down.
Plenty of space and dog friendly patio.
We're going to tear up the place.
Dad does a lot of tearing up when we go out to places. It's pretty incredible.
Love it.
Well, Jay, this has been awesome, and it's always great to see you and to see your face, because we do this video as well on video. So those of you on YouTube, you can check it out. You could watch us doing it. But thank you so much for joining us on our brand new podcast.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Jason. I'm going to toast to you with my Marie Brizard Apres. And congratulations on everything you've accomplished and for being the founder of 2 iconic bars, not just in New York, but in the United States. Employees only in Macao trading. I mean, incredible. Thank you for doing that.
Yes, a true trailblazer. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
You too, guys.
Okay. Bye, Jason.
Bye.
Bye. That does it for today's show. To learn more about future guests, visit thecocktailguru.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
The Cocktail Guru podcast is produced by First Reel Entertainment and distributed by EatsDrinksTV, a service of the Center for Culinary Culture, home of the Cocktail Collection, and is available via Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google, and wherever fine podcasts can be heard.